Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Sell More Book Show, episode 506. I'm Brian Cohen from Best Page Forward, not brought to you by Best Page Forward like I'm a robot. Joined by Courtney Kenny. Cameron Coral is her wonderful sci-fi pen name. She also has helped many nonfiction authors have great success with their launches. And she's back for a second episode. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm glad to be back. Thank you for
Yeah,
having me again.
of
This is
course, of
fun.
course, with the magic of the internet, right? Just recording back to back, but no one gets to see it until a week later. We sit on the episode. It's just we're sitting on it. Um, so Courtney, we had a lot of fun talking about all sorts of stuff last episode. We're gonna get to dive deeper into some of your wonderful fiction marketing stuff today, but one of the things that you wrote, and I know it was years ago, was a great book called Creating Space to Thrive. And I feel like that sense is kind of coming back to the indie world. Like one of the things that Claire who used to co-host the show, as some of you might remember. Claire used to always talk about taking more time off, used to always talk about like not filling the to-do list, used to always talk about keeping that space and holding that space. So I kind of want to get your thoughts as a person who wrote a book on the subject. Like, why do you think indies are coming back around to this after like burning themselves out with too
Right.
much writing?
Well, I think that there was so much advice about writing fast,
Mm-hmm.
keeping up, to try to keep up and keep your audience happy, and that too much for me personally, too much focus on hitting a word count or hitting this deadline. Deadlines are important, but I feel that it made it too much. It was too serious, and I feel
Mm.
like getting back and trying to have some more fun and creative habits. That's what my book was about. Was even if you have a full-time job and um, you're short on time, finding a little bit of a creative outlet in your life, even if it's just like 10 minutes a day or 15 minutes a day, can really change your life in really positive ways.
I love,
So yeah.
yeah, I think bringing the fun back. Maybe that should all be our mantra for 2024. Let's bring the fun back to publishing.
Yes.
I like that a
Yes.
lot.
I love.
Awesome. Well, thank you. So our previous week's question, which I'm going to ask you too here, Courtney, was which trope do you find the most confusing or that you're the most hesitant to use and why? Stan Scrabbit said, well, I don't really have an answer to that question, but have you considered that the enemies to lovers trope is simply an application of Tuckman's group dynamics principle of forming, storming, norming, and performing? Never heard of it personally, Stan, but you bring up a good point that anything that we talk about in publishing and writing and everything, there are principles that apply from the world of psychology. There are principles that apply from sociology. There are principles that apply from self-help and business and everything. We think we're coming up with all this new stuff. Writing to market used to just be marketing, like market your product and have the marketing in mind when you first create your product. So much of that is from somewhere else, and we just ported it over, like an N64 emulator or something. We ported it over into self publishing. Um, do you agree with that, Courtney? And then I'm going to ask you that question.
Um,
Like
yeah, well,
nothing's new. Nothing's new
right.
is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We're just borrowing it from everywhere else.
For sure. I know about that forming, storming, norming,
Norming and performing.
because that was from, I have a background in project management. So we talked about that a lot because when you have a team first come together, it's all kind of messy. Yeah, so I do think a lot of these principles apply to, and we should be using them, and it it helps us create stories that are more lifelike.
Yeah. Yeah, love that. Awesome. It's cool that you knew that because I never heard of that thing. Um, so which trope do you find the most confusing or that you're the most hesitant to use and why? I know you've had like year-long writing programs and writing to market stuff and like was there ever anything that you were like, I still just can't get my head around that one?
I guess personally, I have a little. I love anti-hero stories, but I feel like I would have trouble writing it myself because I
Okay. Like finding that balance.
yeah, because I feel like my well, at least my main character in my latest series is very on the side of good and kind of knows obviously he's going through a whole arc, but and
Right.
there are some people around him that have troubled past and everything, but I think for me finding that perfect balance of a really good anti-hero story would be a little hard.
Yeah, it's like save the cat, but kick it a little on the way down.
Right.
Yeah, we need that book. Awesome. Good answer there, Courtney. And we can all answer the questions of the week. Only one person answered this one. Sell More Book Show After Party Facebook group, Sell More Book Show website, whatever strikes your fancy. Let's get into the top story of the week, minimum wage publishing. Quote, the problem with indie publishing these days is that there are so many good ways to make a living. There's no longer one path, writes Christine Catherine Rush in a post on her blog. That's a good thing, she concludes. Rush has been blogging for over 14 years, but this might be her last blog post about publishing. Oh no. In spring, Rush made a list of the books clamoring to get out of her brain and started doing the math. Writing fiction, she writes 1,000 words per hour, and her blog takes over 10 hours per week minimum. Quote, it had become such a drag that I put blogging off until the last minute and then have to give up even more fiction writing time to get it down, end quote. Rush calculated that the blog only makes her about minimum wage, but could make more money by writing just 3 novellas per year. While the blog is self-sustaining financially, it's actually costing her money by keeping her from her primary work, writing books, which can make money a variety of ways, from Kickstarter to Patreon to bringing in royalties for decades. Quote, I used to clock my writing time at $500 per hour, but it's more like $1,000 per hour, says Rush. Quote, $30 per hour writing a blog post that has little resale value or $1,000 per hour writing stories that can sell for decades. It's really a no brainer. Oh man, Courtney, this brings up a lot of stuff in my brain. What came to you first when you read this story?
Well, I'm sad she won't be blogging, first of all,
Okay.
but I feel it. I get where she's coming from because if you're engaged in other non-writing activities that are kind of eating up your time and you could be writing that next book that you really do kind of need to. I like how she broke it down hourly. I hadn't really thought of looking at it like that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a good exercise.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I've done a couple of time audits in my own life, but I've never done an out like a wage and time audit together. It's really smart. One of my coaching students that I work with in my Pathfinders group this past year, she had been doing a podcast in her genre, working with other authors in her genre, and it was becoming a slog and she wasn't getting that much of a benefit from it. So she stopped and now she has a lot more writing time. And it was hard for her to pull the plug on something that was not bringing in income, just, by virtue of doing it for so long.
Mhm.
But she really loved letting it go eventually. And that's why I've always been a fan of JOMO, first taught to me by Pat Flynn, the joy of missing out. It can be a beautiful thing. So,
I Yes. I have a hard time saying no to things when people ask for help or ask for support. So,
right.
yes, I do. And I know I learned Jomo from you, so I try to do it. It's hard though.
It's hard. It's hard. We both like helping people.
And another, yeah, so yeah, I think I'm gonna have to do this in my business is kind of look at the thing, the rating kind of hourly.
Yeah.
I like how like thinking about it in years and decades, that's really eye-opening.
Oh, agreed. And it's one of the reasons, like, we've got a couple weeks left in 2023 as this is being launched. I've kept adding more and more things to my author ad school program. More and more things, like there's writing sprints now and 5 weekly calls that are live. And we're going to turn it into a membership program because we just can't support all of the things that we've put in there with kind of the one-time cost. And it's like, it and certainly everyone who's already in the program are going to be grandfathered in because we fulfill our promises. But it's like, you keep wanting to help and you want to help more, and then all of a sudden you're overwhelmed with the amount of help you're giving, and you need to step it back sometimes.
Absolutely. Yes. And I
I
think
feel like you and I needed to hear this today.
yes. I really do think so. For sure.
Oh my goodness. Well, let me ask you a hot potato wisdom question. How do you think an author can tell if a non-writing activity, or in Chris's case, just a non-fiction writing activity, is better to keep or to give up?
I guess you could look at the money side like she did, but I also think there's an emotional element where
Mm,
if how does it make you feel? Because and she even said the writing that blog was becoming a drag, and she would put it off. And I feel like that's a big sign. That's a big red flag. If
yeah,
something is draining you that much, then it's time to reconsider and maybe stop it. And but if there's something where you're not making money, but or not making a lot of money, but you're filled with energy from that, then it may just be something that again keeps your creative space alive, and
right.
that's important too.
Right, just like you mentioned from your book, you do need some of those activities, but there seem to be activities that are neither contributing to your creative energy nor to your bottom line, and those are the ones that I suppose can go. I think you got a question for me in here.
Yes. What are the most common activities that you see authors do that take away from the writing they could be doing?
So there are a lot of common activities authors do that take away from their writing. I think a lot of it comes down to trying to learn every way to market a book when really you need one to work, or one that you like doing. Trying to learn something you hate that you're never really going to make progress on just because you saw, so and so doing it well, is probably the most common activity that writers should just let go. That is my
Absolutely.
opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, right. In my experience, just because TikTok was working for a lot of other authors, it didn't necessarily, and I even took a course,
Of
it
course.
didn't quite light me up in the same way. And I felt I was spending a lot of time on it and then making videos. And then also I was going crazy looking at how many views am I getting on my videos.
Oh
And
my gosh,
that was
yeah.
just kind of like sucking out the creativity. And so I had to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hit a few TikTok walls because I like TikTok, but I also don't like checking my stats. So
Yeah,
next time I do TikTok, I'm just not gonna log in. I'm gonna have an assistant post them for me so that
yeah,
I can
that's fine.
never touch it. Never ever touch it. Um so my I guess we're going into the lightning round here, so we need some lightning sounds. I'll let you go first this time, Courtney.
Okay. Pew.
Ooh, I like the chew. I like the ch sound in there, and I'll go. It like blew something up, like a transformer or something. Okay, so Courtney, a buzzy question here. Many authors are more open to incorporating AI into their marketing than they are into their writing. What are some ways you can use AI in your book marketing?
Fantastic. Well, I love this because I do use AI in my book marketing. So first for myself, I've been experimenting with AI images
Mm.
in Facebook ads. So I use Midjourney to generate some images from my book. My main character is a robot, and he's taking care of a baby, and it's in post-apoc. So it's really hard to find like stock imagery of that, but
Of a robot and a baby. Yeah, that would be hard.
Midjourney comes up with some really cool stuff, and it's really it's working for me. And I don't know if other sci-fi authors are finding this, but the images are kind of explaining some of the concepts in the book a lot better than, like, say, the covers are. So that is something that I've been experimenting with, and it's really working for me. And then for my book launch consulting, when I work with nonfiction authors, there's a lot you can do with, say, ChatGPT, where you can have ChatGPT write you 30 days ideas for like 30 days of social media content posting.
Mm.
Or you could input some of your chapters and say, can you come up with questions that to help me make a guide for my readers, or help me create some newsletter content about my book. So it's really great for brainstorming. And you can also ask it questions like, what are the pain points for these the people that would read this book? And that can just help you hone in on people.
I love that. Yeah. And I played around with ChatGPT for idea brainstorming before, and I think it's really useful for that, especially if you're creatively tapped and you
Yes.
need to create the content. So great points there. Courtney, I think you got a question for me.
I do. How can authors get a potential reader's attention during the busy holiday season?
So I think one of the best ways to get a reader's attention during the holiday season is to really connect with them where they are. If you are really trying to uh, uh, just sell them, they might not get as much out of it as if you told them kind of what you're doing this holiday season. Maybe a giveaway of some kind. Maybe really getting into the holiday spirit in a way, because I think people would sometimes rather just see something happy, see something fun and festive. But at the same time, there is also a benefit to waiting the holiday season out and waiting until afterwards when all the ads have kind of ceased so that you can get a little bit of space with them.
Absolutely. Or taking your I just had this idea. I could
Yeah.
have my robot in a Santa Claus hat or something.
Oh man. That's such a great idea. You just for your holiday ads, you get the Santa hat going, the robot with the baby, and the robot
Right?
has the Santa hat on.
Right? I
I
know.
love it. I love it. That's amazing. Courtney, do you take time off from writing during the holidays, or do you just keep going as if nothing has changed?
I do take some time off because I like to plan for the new year.
Mm,
I love this time of year because I can kind of look back at what happened and look at how I can improve things and just make some plans for the new year. I always feel like January is a bit of a fresh start,
yeah.
and I like to sometimes just, if it's snowing outside and I get a little, get my book and a hot chocolate and have my dog next to me and just read and do some things to just help fill my creativity. But I do have a deadline, so I am writing right now. So I do try to write every day. So I probably will be writing most of the days unless I have stuff going on with family.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Totally makes sense. Give yourself the gift of no deadlines next Christmas.
Right. I know.
Truly.
I wanted to take this time off, but
I know. I understand. I know how it goes.
yeah.
All right, you got a question for me.
How can an author hit the ground running on January 1st?
Best way for an author to hit the ground running on January 1st is to rest now.
I love it.
Rest. Take time, give yourself space, find moments where you're enjoying the holiday season. I know it's so hard. My Riley's birthday was this month, and so we were dealing with the birthday and Hanukkah and Christmas and all this stuff, and it adds a lot of stress. But there's something about wrapping the presents. There's something about planning the festivities. There's something about seeing the joy on the kiddo's face, and you got to soak that in. And you're a lot more able to do that when you're resting rather than trying to do twice as much before the end of the year.
Absolutely.
I would say I learned all that from Claire Taylor. So to finish us out here, Courtney, you were just talking about planning for next year. Do you have a writing business plan that's based on the calendar year? And whether or not you do, how will you plan for 2024?
Yes, I do. I do look at the whole year ahead of me. So I will estimate the number of books I want to write and some other projects that I have in my head, and I just need to get them out on paper. And so yes, I definitely look at the year. I'm a big believer in vision boards. I know some people think those are maybe weird, but I like to put together actually like a digital vision board. I just do it in Canva and I pull little images of things. And in 2022, this is kind of a cool story. In 2022, I wanted to get a new house because we'd been living in the same place in Chicago for a long time, and we were house hunting, but it was, after the pandemic, so things were really, really hard, and it was just crazy times with real estate. And I wanted to get this house so that I could get a dog. I really wanted to rescue a dog. So I put this house on my vision board and this picture of a dog. And if I line it up to what we have now, it really came true. Like I manifested this house and the dog looks almost exactly like my dog. It's really weird. Weird and cool.
Amazing.
So I try to always do that now, at least get some visual pictures and at least writing down your intentions. I would say, and focusing on a few more than just like making a whole laundry list. That's been better. That's worked out better for me, is to focus on just a few things.
Oh, well, that's pretty awesome. We love a little woo-woo here on the Sell More Book Show. I was just reading my friend's book, Jada Selner, the book She Builds, and was reading the chapter about vision boards just the other day. I've definitely had a vision board, though I don't have one currently, but it makes me want to. So maybe I can put some cool like aliens on it, and maybe I'll have these aliens with me in a couple of years. Yeah, probably more like dogs and cats, but
if you want aliens, if that's what you want.
If I want aliens, I can get them. I can make it happen. So that's the end of the lightning round. Courtney, I wonder if our question should be going back to Chris Rush's post here, because I feel like a lot of authors need to think about this. How would you feel about asking a question about those minimum wagey tasks?
I like it. Yes.
Okay. Awesome. So, what do you think are the minimum wage or below tasks in your writing life? And how could you change your schedule so that it allowed you to be compensated fairly for your time? So, hopefully that's good enough for me to remember. You can answer the question of the week over at sellmorebookshow.com or in the Sell More Book Show After Party Facebook group. Courtney, so this is the end of your 2 episodes here. It's been a blast having you. What do you think you want to leave our listeners with as we ride off into the sunset?
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you for having me.
Of course.
This has been a joy, and I do think it's important to take some time off this time of the year and take time for yourself to take care of yourself and know that what you're doing, the fact that you're creating and creating something that you can bring into this world with your writing and your storytelling is it's truly a miracle, and it's something to be really proud of. And when you reflect back on this year and maybe look ahead to the new year, just remember how really important and cool that is.
I love that. I agree. Check out Courtney's stuff. Cameron Coral for the wonderful robot post-apoc. For the, what was your nonfiction site again?
Nonfiction site is helpingauthorslaunch.com.
helpingauthorslaunch.com for some launch question guides. Courtney, thank you again for coming on. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks so much.
You are welcome, of course. So, next couple weeks we got Becca Syme in the house, so definitely come tune in. I'll be making sure she answers all the strengthy questions we can throw at her. But for Courtney Kenny, I'm Brian Cohen. I hope you have a great week of book selling. I hope you have a wonderful holiday week. I think we're this week to next just includes a little bit of Christmas, and it's always great having you listen. So we really, really appreciate you. Take good care, everybody, and happy holidays. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.